Welcome to the Gavel. I am Terry Ikumi. The National Assembly has condemned in strong terms the UK government's inclusion of Nigeria in its COVID-19 red list without justification. The House of Representatives is asking the Foreign Affairs Ministry to interface with the UK government to reverse the decision. These resolutions were reached after both chambers debated the matter on Tuesday. That's our first report.
We are worried that targeting African countries in the COVID-19 travel ban amounts to profiling and discrimination, as well as an attack on our cordial diplomatic relations with the UK.
Senator Ekweremadu shares an opinion in line with some Nigerians who feel the country is being unfairly treated by the United Kingdom government because of the confirmation of the Omicron variant of COVID-19 in the country. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control had confirmed 6 cases of the Omicron variant in the country, and Canada as well as the UK had banned Nigeria from visiting the countries as part of new measures to prevent the spread of the virus. But the Senate wants the British authorities to reconsider and remove Nigeria from the COVID-19 red list and to be sensitive to the diplomatic relationship between the two countries in taking decisions that affect Nigerian citizens.
Condemn in strong terms the UK government inclusion of Nigeria in the COVID-19 red list without justification. We're also worried that Nigerians with genuine need to visit the UK within this period will be denied visa, and those with visa will not be allowed to enter the UK. We note that Nigerians have consistently complied with all the COVID-19 protocols required by the World Health Organization and UK government to travelers prior to this ban. We are worried that targeting African countries in the COVID-19 travel ban amounts to profiling and discrimination, as well as an attack on our cordial diplomatic relations with the UK.
I believe that Nigerians deserve a better treatment from the British government, and I'm using this opportunity to urge the British Parliament to mount pressure on their government to remove Nigeria from this so-called red list.
The House of Representatives also asks the Foreign Affairs Ministry to interface with the UK government to reverse the decision to ban Nigerians from the UK. The House is worried that the decision would affect Nigerian students in the UK who may be unable to return for the Yuletide celebration.
The House therefore disturbed that if the government does not urgently engage the authorities of the United Kingdom, this decision will have a significant impact on businesses and travelers intending to carry out lawful transactions in the UK, as opportunities and investments already made will be lost, hence the need for a quick interface. The House further disturbed that children who school abroad and have thought of returning home during this festive period to rejoin their families, and with fear that when they later go back, will be subjected to 10 days mandatory isolation center and be made to pay £2,700 for such hotel bookings, may be totally discouraged from coming home and thereby deny such family the opportunity of their children rejoining them for this annual family union.
What they have done to Nigeria should be criticized and ensure we oppose this wholeheartedly as a Nigerian, because every single one of us shall be judged commensurate to the work of our hands. If we are black, that does not mean we are inferior. We share the same blood. We share the same brain. Whether you are black or you are white, we must treat one another and each other on equal basis. What stop British from asking questions? Go through the diplomatic process before a drastic action will be taken.
We should have done an internal self-assessment to investigate the reason and rationale. Why are they not happy that we have fought to the end the COVID and is phasing away, and somebody is thinking that he is not done with what he is doing in that office, and therefore the office should not be closed? So let us embrace, rightly or wrongly, the emergence of another COVID in another form, in another name. So for us to sit here and begin to castigate another sovereign country for taking the decision that we have admitted have capacity to inflict their own citizens. We are just being selfish. We have admitted we have it. As a country, we have admitted. So for me, the British government have right to say we should not go there.
I think there are other options that the United Kingdom can explore. And I wish that our government will engage diplomatically and will use the facts of science to say, look, these are the ways that we can go about this thing that will be humane, because after all, we are in the season of Christmas. People have made all the traveling arrangements all over the world that they are going to come to Nigeria, and some Nigerians will also travel out. At this time, I think this is ill-advised, and I think the UK should be bold enough to reverse their own decision.
Thank you, Honorable. Our task force.
But some lawmakers were concerned about the low number of Nigerians who have been vaccinated, and the House directed its committees on health and foreign affairs to interface with the Presidential Steering Committee on best ways to resolve the matter.
The British government said flights from Nigeria to their country, 24 were already recorded, and they have a responsibility to protect their citizens. So also we have responsibility to protect our citizens. Why am I saying this? It's because since 2020, and as of today, only 3% out of 200 and something millions Nigerians. And to say the least, we even beg Nigerians, please take this vaccine, it's very, very important. Most of our drivers, even our house helps, our secretaries, they are not vaccinated. We have drugs lying in fallows. Vaccines are there. Nobody wants to take. Nobody is wearing masks. We think it's a joke, and we are losing lives. They have responsibility to protect their nation. We have responsibility too to protect our nation. Mr. Speaker, what am I saying in effect? I have nothing against them, and they have not done anything wrong. They have a right. We also have a right. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to suggest that my suggestion is in form of amendment to mandate the House Committee on Health Services and Foreign Affairs to liaise with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to ascertain the cause of blacklisting Nigeria and measures to salvage this situation.
Now, following the alleged bullying incident in Dowen College, Lagos, which led to the death of 12-year-old Sylvester Oromoni, the House of Representatives has mandated the Inspector General of Police to immediately take over the investigation, prosecution and punishment of the perpetrators of the identified heinous crime. The House also reacted to the death of 14-year-old student of Premier Academy, Lugbe Abuja, Karen Hapuk, who was reportedly raped and eventually died from complications. Lawmakers are disturbed that it's been 6 months since the incident and nothing tangible has been heard from law enforcement.
The House, in a motion of urgent public importance by Representative Unyime Idem, condemned in strong terms the recent incidents of inhuman treatment and abuses happening in the boarding schools across the country. The most recent resulting in the death of 12-year-old Sylvester Oromoni, a student of Dowen College, Lagos. The lawmakers want the 5 students alleged to be involved in the crime placed on the no-fly list to prevent them from leaving the country, and are calling for proper regulation of boarding schools in the country as well as their health facilities.
That the social media has been agog in the last few days following the reports on Sylvester Oromoni, a 12-year-old boy who recently passed away on the 27th November 2021 while nursing multiple internal injuries alleged to have been sustained after he was beaten by his fellow students who were bullying him at a boarding school. The parents of the deceased said he was attacked for declining to join what he termed as the secondary school's cult group, dominated by older boys at Dowen College in Lekki, Lagos. Some Nigerians on the social space have been voicing out their bitter experiences with boarding school system of oppression. A public analyst who spoke on the trending issue said bullying is a major pandemic in Nigeria boarding school today. The House resolved to condemn in strong terms the recent incidences of inhuman treatment and abuses happening in the boarding schools across the country. Urge the Federal Ministry of Education to set out guidelines for the operations of boarding schools across the country, mandates the Inspector General of Police to immediately commission and take over the investigation, prosecution, and punishment of the perpetrators of the identified heinous crime.
I just want to add to the prayers of the motion that the newly created Safety Standard Committee and Committee on Education to conduct a review of safety regulations and guidelines in public schools. In this particular matter, there are 5 students that are involved, and all of them are a flight threat, and that their names should be placed on the no-fly list, and that the school, as shut down by Lagos State, will remain shut until investigations are over and the school is cleared of all these allegations, and that the death of young Sylvester should be investigated thoroughly.
There's something wrong with the regulatory authorities. They owe it a responsibility to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and to Nigerians to do proper oversight and regulation of these institutions. You cannot leave the boarding schools without proper regulation. So it is the responsibility of the regulatory authority to do what is right, to save Nigerians from this embarrassment. It's a huge embarrassment for those boarding schools to be converted to cultist medium.
The House also noted another incident leading to the death of 14-year-old Karen Harpok of Premier Academy, Lugbe, Abuja, on the 22nd day of June 2021, who died from alleged rape complication, and is disturbed that the matter is yet to be properly handled by the police.
The House is alarmed at the unwillingness of Premier Academy to uncover the truth behind Karen's death, and the management's media denial of previous cases of sexual harassment of students in the institution, contrary to documentary evidence. The House is also alarmed at the lack of proactive and thorough investigation by the Nigeria Police Force, even after formal correspondence to the police by the deceased family's lawyer and the allegations by Amnesty International of harassment and threat to the lives of Karen's mother, Vivian Akpai, her family, and the leader of the coalition of gender-based violence responders and his family over their public campaigns and advocacy demanding justice for Karen. The House is disturbed that while the whole world recently observed the United Nations International Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women on 25th November 2021 with the theme, Orange the World, End Violence Against Women Now, which marked the launch of the 16-day campaign, Unite to End Violence Against Women, from 25th November 2021 to 10 December 2021, Nigerian authorities do not appear to recognize their obligation to adopt and implement appropriate measures to ensure women and girls are protected from all forms of violence, including rape and sexual harassment, considering the nation's ratification of several domestic, regional, and international protocols and charters on women's rights, ending violence against women, and other human rights laws, including Section 34 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, which guarantees that no Nigerian shall be subjected to torture or inhuman or degrading treatment. The House therefore resolves to urge the Nigeria Police Force to thoroughly investigate mysteries surrounding the death of Karen, allegations of harassment and threat to the life of Karen's family and the leader of the coalition of gender-based violence and his family, and carry out a DNA test, recover spermatozoa, and test Premier Academy staff to identify anyone liable and bring him to justice.
The House observed a minute of silence in honor of the deceased students.
Welcome back to the Gavel. Let's take a look at some other events in plenary this past week.
The House of Representatives is to investigate online loan systems in the country. The decision of the House followed a motion by Representative Akin Alabi, drawing the attention of the House to what he describes as excesses of online loan providers, whom he says are exploiting the growing need for financial assistance and engaging in unfair collection practices by subjecting Nigerians to situations where their contacts are besieged with unsolicited messages from the loan providers in a bid to force the borrowers to pay. The lawmakers are concerned about the access to information of Nigerians who had no part in the loans.
Also concerned that many online loan providers are exploiting the growing need for financial assistance and engaging in unfair collection practices by subjecting Nigerians to situations where their contacts are besieged with unsolicited messages from the loan providers in a bid to force the borrowers to pay.
The principal officers of the House of Representatives are to meet with the committees of Finance and Banking and Currency over the failure of some agencies to appear for 2022 budget defense. This decision came after a personal explanation by Representative Fatuhu Mohammed informing the House that the Central Bank of Nigeria, Printing and Minting Company, as well as the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON, failed to appear for 2022 budget defense.
It will interest the House to note that none of the above-mentioned agencies have been oversight by this committee in line with Order 20 Rules 18 subsection 1 and 2 in the past 2 years. And to cap it all, they have failed and refused to make their budgets for the 2022 available to the members of the Committee of Banking and Currency.
The House also considered and passed through second reading a bill for an act to provide for establishment of Federal College of Agriculture, TAPA.
I rise to move, pursuant to Order 12, Rule 4, of the Standing Orders of the House of Representatives, to seek the leave of this Honorable House for an act to establish the Federal College of Agriculture, TAPA, and for related matters to be read a second time.
The House of Representatives on Thursday mandated its existing ad hoc committee on the investigation of the real estate developers, giving it an additional mandate to further investigate the operations of real estate developers across Nigeria, not just the FCT, with regards to the astronomical cost of such development and concerns about quality and conformity to initial land use, design and structural approvals.
The House further aware that this sector is shrouded in secrecy, misrepresentation, quackery, bribery, incompetence, non-disclosure of information due to lack of regulation and monitoring.
Now, our final report is on various committee meetings of the National Assembly in the past week. The Senate Committee on Health met with stakeholders to discuss the instruction by the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria that all medical graduates who schooled abroad and seek to take the Council's assessment examination will undergo a 6-month mandatory attachment program.
100% in theory.
The first attachment program is expected to begin in January and run till June 2022. But committee members questioned the reason for making the attachment mandatory and the costs to be incurred by the Nigerian students. Applicants who are Nigerian citizens are required to pay a non-refundable fee of 900,000 naira, while non-citizens are to pay 1.4 million naira for the program.
What informed the design, in summary, of what you are trying to do? Design specifically as to why are you selecting institutions only per zone or something like that? Why are you introducing what Nigerians are sent to us, exorbitant, unaffordable cost being placed on the proposed student?
We all appreciated the problems with the candidates, and we needed a remedy. And this remedy started since the exam in Kano, that there is a need to have something centrally to train, to upgrade the standard of some of these candidates.
Members of the committee were also disturbed by remarks made by members of the council, stating that a high number of medical graduates, particularly from schools in some Eastern European countries, failed the examinations to allow them practice in Nigeria. They also wonder why the council has not published the names of substandard medical universities abroad to serve as a guide to Nigerians seeking higher education abroad.
MDCN should publish that these schools are not recognized, but just like you give an example, institutions in Nigeria that are training medical students, when they don't meet accreditation, you don't admit their students. For license, why are you now admitting students in schools that are not recognized for exam?
Our plan was to go to Eastern Europe, to where a lot of our candidates are going, and a lot of them, as far as we are concerned, are not doing well.
At the end of the meeting, the committee instructed the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria to suspend the mandatory attachment program for medical graduates who schooled abroad and are seeking to take the council's assessment examination until it justifies why the attachment program is mandatory and furnish the committee with information on the costing of the program. Meanwhile, stakeholders in the environment sector are rejecting a bill to establish the Clean Nigeria Agency, which is intended to address the persistent problem of open defecation in the country. They stated this position during a public hearing on the bill organized by the Senate Committee on Water Resources.
We know why our colleague here is proposing this. Clearly, is to reduce or eradicate open urination and defecation in our public places. And this is very, very clear because we know what this causes.
By requesting for the establishment of this agency, we feel this agency will clash with already existing agency. Particularly, most of the work that has to be done in the sector are work that are concerned with the state and local government.
Chairman of the House Committee on Appropriations, Aliyu Betara, says the Independent National Electoral Commission insists that only the political parties have the responsibility of conducting primaries and its attendant funding. Mr. Betara stated this after a closed-door meeting with the chairman of INEC, Mahmood Yakubu, at the National Assembly. According to him, the INEC chairman also told lawmakers that the role of the commission in direct or indirect primaries is minimal and the responsibility lies with all the political parties. The meeting was as directed by the House last week through a motion to hear from the electoral body on the cost implication of direct primaries. The House Committee on Real Estate Development continued its weekly sitting, investigating petitions against real estate developers. One of the developers in the country was on ground to address the issue of flooding, which has continued unabated in its estate.
On the issue of the areas too, that will have blocked drainages, okay, in the meeting, we also discussed with the MD, he was there in the meeting. Our Phase 3 chairman too was also present in the meeting, so I agree that it was discussed that these areas will be opened up.
And every year in FCT, you have flood drains. Lives are taken. It's not what the developer and these people can sit alone and resolve. It is a more technical issue. And I think if this committee wants to do justice, is to look at it more holistically. Bring in FCDA, bring in the developer. The committee will also sit there, will look at what will be the final issue. Because whether you like it or not, the underground water in Strademore, if you build a world-class infrastructure there, it won't last for 2 years.
Last time you came, I mentioned it to you. And I said something ought to be done about it, and very quickly. More so that it involves lives lost in your estate.
Meanwhile, the Committee on Public Petitions met with the Nigeria Customs and operators of bonded warehouses, as the chairman of the committee advised against sealing of the warehouses.
If you impose that type of sanctions on about so many terminals, 1, 2, 3, 4, It becomes man saying humanity to man. So what you do is temper justice with mercy. This committee is advising that you should allow them to continue operating while they work toward paying the money they have. More so when you have even reduced the money from 400 and something to 100 and something million.
The 2022 budget, according to the spokesperson of the House of Representatives, is expected to be passed on the 14th of December. Well, that's the Gavel this week. Thanks for your time. I am Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.